Good morning, folks. I just wanted to come on. I just got my new book. I got my new book from Suspicious Observers, The Earth Disaster Cycle. It's fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating. It's got good color pictures and a lot of good information. And amazingly, they sent me 2 copies. I don't know why they sent me 2 copies when I only paid for one, but thank you very much, Ben. I appreciate it. And I'm very tired now. Today, for those that don't know, this is all the stuff that was in my truck except for my generator and my cot, because I can't get the cot out from behind the generator until I take the generator off. But all of this, as you can see, has got to be wiped down and cleaned, double check the seals on everything before it's stored. So, and the tent has got to be took outside and set up. Okay, so for those who don't know, you never put away a tent wet unless you're moving it. You don't want it to sit wet for more than a few hours, because then that allows mildew to set up and it will absolutely destroy your tent. It will literally eat the fabric away. And that's what I have for today. I just wanted to show you I got a whole bunch of stuff in my truck. I got it all in the house last night, but except for the generator. I got to figure out how to get that off the truck today and get that put up. But yeah. Been a long day yesterday. I started at midnight yesterday driving out to West Virginia. I got to West Virginia right around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I got back last night here to the house, loaded up all this stuff, right? And thank you, Mark, for helping me load it up. Mark and Bud and Ed all helped me get all this in the truck, and I thank them very much for that. I got back to the house last night right about 7:45, 8 o'clock, and got all this stuff brought into the house. And then I was like winding down, and I got up on St. Bernard Acres live stream last night for a little bit, but I was whooped. Total mileage, for those who are wondering, total mileage was right at 793 miles for me on my pickup truck. So I had to stop twice to fuel up, and I'll have to get fuel on the way to work tomorrow. Now, let me tell you something. This is very important. Whenever you are out in the woods, or like you have these kits, all this dirt that's on the top, you need to keep that clean. Now, here's why you want to do that. It's because inside you know that everything is sterile. You know that inside the box is all good. However, dirt, if left on containers like that, causes an abrasive action, either from the wind or other items moving on top of it, or things of this nature. And that abrasive action, just that rubbing and that rubbing and that rubbing and that constant rubbing, can cause a hole to wear into the top of your container and thereby ruin your food. So you want to make sure before you put your freeze-dried cans and food away that you wipe it down on the outside of the container to make sure there's like no abrasive type of dirt on it. And like I said, my tent, I got to go set my tent up in the backyard today. I've got the cot that's on the back of the truck that I got to get and spread it out because it's canvas. You don't want you don't want to put away canvas wet. You always want to make sure that when you're folding up the canvas, it is clean and dry. Because if it's dirty when you fold it up, here we go again with those fine particles will rub on the canvas and cause a hole. So these are simple little steps. It takes time, but it's simple little steps you want to take to ensure you don't lose the cost of your items. Because this tent, let me tell you something about this tent. This tent is the easiest tent I've found to pop up, and this is a 6-man Coleman, and kudos to Coleman. This tent has sat outside in the weather for, what was it, since September or October that I set it up, and I just took it down yesterday. And in all that time, I only had one little tear happen, and that was my fault. And I want to thank Jimmy for fixing that for me, because Jimmy came along and put a patch on it and fixed it. But after all that snow that Ed had up on his property, which was well above the little 1-inch, it's like about this far at the bottom of the tent that goes up. It's like part of the floor that goes up before you hit the zipper. After all of that snow, I had very, very little water inside the tent. Most of the water that I got in the tent, it was because I had the window open yesterday. I had the door wide open yesterday while I was moving stuff out of the tent to put into the truck. And so, and obviously not all of this was in my tent. A lot of this was stored in one of the buildings. That tent is waterproof. It's windproof. I can say it's windproof because up there in West Virginia, Ed had a few days where it literally took a canopy that he had and blew it across the entire meadow. And it blew it all the way down to the bottom of the meadow. This tent stayed in place, did not move. So we know that wind gusts were 50, 60 mile an hour. And we had no damage, and it's a very good tent. I would highly recommend it if you have a family. It is very large inside, and I've put videos online about this tent. I'm very impressed with this tent. I will say, make sure that you get the Rainfly, because the Rainfly should come with it, but if it doesn't, you need to order the Rainfly for it. Okay, that's to keep the mechanism at the top of the tent, because this is a pop-up. It's to keep the mechanism at the top of the tent clean and rust-proof. So you want to make sure you have that Rainfly. It just helps with keeping water out of the tent, and it's easy to put up. And it does not affect the vents at the top of the tent. Kudos to Coleman. I am very impressed with this tent, obviously. Another thing you will notice is I've got like plastic wrap around things. I try and keep everything clean. I try and keep it all in its original packaging if possible. Not all of that do I do. Like, obviously my Seaflow, which that is the best portable potty that you can buy. It doesn't leak. Now, if you're worried about your portable potty leaking in your tent, let's see if you can get one of these, which is it's just for a planter, right? I use this for my planting, obviously. And you put it underneath it, and that way you have no absolute worry about it leaking. The other thing that I have is my Mr. Buddy heater, and you see I've got plastic bags on top of it because I wanted to make sure it didn't get wet. That's kind of a thing with electronics. You don't want it to get wet. You know, it's got an electric spark, so you don't want it to get wet, or it might mess up the like, I guess it's called flint that starts to spark. I don't know. Okay, but you don't want it getting extremely wet. So if you have a Mr. Buddy heater, and you're going to use it long term or store it long term, yeah, you kind of want to make sure that you keep it so that it doesn't get a bunch of dust and dirt into it, and it doesn't get wet while it's being stored. Now, you can use it out in the wet because obviously it's propane, but when you put it away, you want to make sure it's dry and clean and stored in a dry area. But this is what I got going on today. I got to clean all this, right? I got to wipe everything down. I got to clean all this. Then I got to put it away, and that's going to be fun. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to go drink my coffee, and y'all have a blessed day. Bicycle.